Right now, Canadians across the country are glued to their screens, watching our athletes compete against the very best in the world. We see the flags, we hear the anthem, and for a moment, the entire country stands still, united in pride. But what most Canadians don't see is what it actually costs to get there. Behind the scenes, many of these athletes are not millionaires. They're not living in luxury, and some are working second jobs, some are relying on their families, some are fundraising just to stay in the sport long enough to wear that maple leaf on the world stage. And it raises a difficult question. In a country as wealthy as Canada, why are some of our Olympic athletes still struggling to survive financially? Earlier today, Jim Lang and I had a chance to speak to Jane Roos, the founder of Can Fund, an organization that has helped support thousands of Canadian athletes on their Olympic journey, often stepping in where traditional funding falls short. Jane, thanks for joining us and taking the time at what is probably one of the most exciting times for you. Of course, we are day 11, I believe, of the Olympics today.
Indeed.
The Winter Olympics are underway. And one of the real important cogs in the wheel that make it possible for athletes to get to where they are in this country is Jane and Can Fund. And so to me, it was a big deal at this time to get you on with us so that while people are thinking about the Olympics, they can think about how, as Canadians, we can support our Olympic athletes. And of course, you are the queen of that in Canada and have been for some time. Maybe tell us a little bit about what Can Fund does, and then we can work backwards from why it's necessary and some of the stories associated.
Yeah, so Can Fund gives money directly to the athletes. So on average, we have 2 applications a year. 700 to 800 athletes apply. These are the best athletes in the country. And because of Canadians who show up, we're able to give each athlete who's approved $8,000. And we don't get any government funding. So the more we raise, the more athletes we fund. And we are in the game of we create really cool campaigns. So I always say Can Fund does our best work when the athletes are out of the spotlight, but when they need us the most.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jane, because I'll freely admit I got emotional watching Perry Sound's Megan Oldham win that gold medal and watching her with her hand over her heart singing "Oh Canada," but we forget between the time and all the thankless hours of training and falling in the hill to get to the point she could win a gold to getting Milena and Cortina, it takes a lot of effort and finances.
Yeah, I feel like most people don't understand that the journey is so costly and so few people get to wear the maple leaf on the world stage. I always say, I compare Can Fund to like entrepreneurs getting seed money. Athletes rely on Can Fund. I think there's nearly every Canadian athlete since 2003, able-bodied and para, who's competed for Canada on the world stage, has been a Can Fund recipient. So we have funded over 8,000 athletes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that many.
Yeah.
And so not only that, but you hear the stories. I went to the gala. You have a wonderful gala. I hope that's still an ongoing thing because it's so important for the people that sponsor these athletes to come and hear the stories. But some of the amazing stories from both the Paralympics, Winter and Summer Olympics, there were elements of how important, and at the moment when they needed it most, these athletes became recipients of the Can Fund funding. And, it just became apparent to me, and maybe you can share some of these with us, Jane, but there are athletes that would not have made the Olympics but for that bit of funding that made it possible at some point in their training on the way to the Olympics.
Yeah, I think when you're living on basically nothing and you're budgeting everything, I mean, I haven't met an athlete yet who wants a handout. Like there's such an honor and a privilege to represent your country on the world stage. And what we do is we engage people to show up for them. So when you're an athlete who is, $60,000 in debt, getting $16,000 from us a year is super helpful. And some of the athletes will say that we're their only sponsor. So Canadians are showing up, and we have so many unique campaigns. So we make it really easy for people to give. That's our job. And the biggest thing is with every donation, you get a tax receipt and you find out which athlete you're supporting. But from the
That's
early
really
stage,
cool, actually.
Yeah.
yeah, well, we keep it simple. Like, like when I started CanFun from a hospital bed. I used to be an athlete and I was in a really bad car accident. And my best friend was driving and she fell asleep at the wheel. And one of the things I really wanted to start when CanFun was in the earlier stages, when we weren't a charity yet, was just the transparency. So when you donate, you find out who you help, because I think following somebody on their journey and getting to see how they improve, being part of their highs and lows, because there's many of those with athletes, is really important. So
I would agree. Yeah, if you're following the story, if you have a vested interest in sponsoring that athlete specifically, you're going to be more engaged in our athletes and the Olympics overall.
Yeah, and I think with us right now, we have a program where people are monthly donors, so $10 or more a month. And it's super simple. And we love our monthly donors. We call them patrons of sport, because they stay with us throughout the whole year. Like they're constantly showing up. And then in 2019, I noticed that we didn't have a lot of female donors. So we created Can Fund 150 Women. So women across the country are giving $150 or more. The first Can Fund recipient is Piper Gillis.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Well, I wanted to touch on that, Jane, because our oldest daughter lives in Edmonton and she's obsessed with our Canadian figure skating team in Milano and Cortina. And when she found out about Canadian athletes now and Can Fund, and I told her I was going to be talking to you, she was so excited because her and her partner want to get on that and start doing monthly donations towards the figure skaters.
Yeah, so it's really great. Like we go all the way back to like even right now. So in Xavier McKeever, who was in the cross country Olympian at these games, his mom, Melanie, from 2005 is a Can Fund recipient.
Wow.
Wow. And you go to figure skating, and what I love about our legacy in figure skating, we go back to Scott Moyer was a Can Fund recipient in his time. What's his name? I just lost it, one of the early skaters. But then we also have the support, like Kurt Browning has done stuff for Can Fund, Brian Orser has done stuff, Tracy Wilson. So there's this community that people get what we're trying to do. We're trying to level the playing field for our athletes, but we're trying to say, no, there's 86,000 charities in this country. Can Fund is very different. A lot of our donors say that this country gave them so much that they're so proud to be Canadian. This is their give back. They're going to watch 16 days of the games. You don't pay a ticket for that. Here's your give back. And right now, when you watch these games, Evanie Blondie, who just competed today and won gold, Can Fund has been supporting Evanie since 2009. Same with Valerie Maltez. Both the flag bearers walking into the opening ceremonies are Can Fund recipients. Everybody relies on this charity because getting sponsorship and getting money, when you're not in the spotlight, when you're in the thick of it, when you have to pay for coaches and equipment and travel, it's not there. And, when we do these calls, the way Can Fund works is they apply and then we approve. We make this massive waiting list and then we'll have a call with 12 athletes and we invite donors to listen in on the call. It's on Zoom. And I always ask them, if you got Can Fund right now, how would that impact your journey or where you're at? And there's tears and it's so different for every athlete. Some say it will keep them in sport longer. Some say that it will help them pay for more physio and more treatments. Some athletes will say that this will get them to their final training camp before the games. So much of the money we gave out leading into these games, in October, November, and December, the athletes chased the snow. So it got them to their training camps. It brought their coaches with them. It paid for new equipment. We paid new helmets, new sleds, so, I think the really cool thing about Can Fund is every donor should be really proud that the money that they're giving is being used to, because I feel like the athletes are in the arena. They're getting their butts kicked, right? Like they're in the game of life, no plan B. And when you donate, you know that money is actually making a significant difference, no matter how much.
Many of these athletes have, like you say, Jane, they've put their lives completely on hold, and some of them are young. Yeah. So putting university on hold,
relationships,
or relationships, or just getting into the career that they studied in university, and they're doing that to represent their country. And some of these events, and Jane, maybe I'm wrong about this, set me straight for sure. Certain snowboarding, skiing, and the high flying games, they're sponsorable. Those athletes might stand a better chance of getting sponsorship through the process. But there are events that are just not as brand significant, I guess, to sponsorship. And I think those athletes really do represent a lot of the games for us. And they're a little bit stranded, I think, on a desert island when it comes to sponsorship.
I would say you'd be surprised nearly every athlete competing at these games from every sport relies on Can Fund.
Wow. It doesn't surprise me.
Figure skaters, your speed skaters, your snowboarders, everybody. I think it just costs so much, and the funding's just not there for them in ways that it should be. And so Can Fund becomes this, everyone says to us it's a significant difference maker. Like I just had a call 2 days ago with there was 10 Paralympians on the call, and I think 8 of them were on the sledge hockey team. And I same question: if you got $8,000 today, what would it mean? And you see grown people, like men, people, teary-eyed. Like getting Can Fund, yes, it alleviates all the costs, or some of them, but it's belief. You're giving the gift of belief to somebody.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Somebody out there is recognizing that. Yeah.
Jane, I know Tyler McGregor fairly well. I've got to know him over the years, and his story to becoming one of the great sledge hockey players in the world is pretty incredible. But the sledges aren't cheap. The equipment's not cheap. And I can see those sledge hockey players getting emotional, because that's the difference between competing at the Paralympics or not competing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the athletes will say getting Can Fund is the difference between qualifying and not, standing on the podium or not, staying in sport longer. And we show up too for athletes who get injured, right? We show up for everybody. I don't really care about the medals, really. I mean, I have in moments, we did a campaign in Vancouver where Eric Sprott was giving us $100,000 for every gold medal won, because he said, "What's your biggest problem?" I said, "For the next games, after these Paralympic Winter Games, nobody cares for another 2 years." But to me, it's not even about the medals. It's about that, like I said earlier, so few people wear the maple leaf. They have no plan B. They give everything. And when you watch the games right now and you look at their Facebook feeds, they just won a gold and there's 10,000 likes. And I'm just like, where are those people? We need them all to donate to Can Fund, because the money is going right to the athletes. And we would give the athletes more than 8,000, but we just can't keep up with the demand.
Jane, it's funny. I read the documentation from the government about where they put funding towards sport and developing our athletes to get to the Olympics. And it's a lot of money, and it seems to go toward facilities. And I don't know. It just seems to me that if we put more into our athletes, and that requires funding because it's so expensive for the training and the treatments and the travel and everything required to be in and among the best in the world, we should be creating the right kind of funding that gets to these athletes at the federal level. At the same time, it seems like they've been a little bit abandoned on that at the personal level. Maybe the infrastructure is being built to get them to the place where they want to compete on a world level. But, thank goodness you're there. if you weren't there, where would we be? And frankly, is there some better way that we could be supporting our athletes at the federal level? Should we be pushing our government? Is there something you'd recommend?
Well, we've never got government funding. I think there's a structure. I think the whole sports system needs kind of like a do-over. I think that there's a lot of infrastructure that money goes to, but it doesn't get to the athletes.
Yeah.
And I think I've been doing this now, like Italy's our 12th Olympics. And I've seen like the carding, one of our campaigns that we did kind of embarrassed the Canadian government, and they increased carding. I've played on that platform. I feel like now my goal is, could corporate Canada, like we have an adopt an athlete program where it's $10,000. I mean, couldn't we get every company in this, country to give $10,000 to adopt an athlete twice a year? I mean, I don't think it would take a lot from everybody if they all showed up. But I think the challenge is the government, the infrastructure isn't set. So for example, when I first started Can Fund, artistic swimming was paying $5,000 in team fees. And that was kind of unheard of. They were the first team that was paying like a team fee. You had to pay $5,000 to be on the team. And this is 2003. Fast forward to now, nearly every winter athlete, every sport, and the team fees are up to $30,000. So if you don't pay $30,000, you're not competing.
Not only do you have to be the best, you have to have 30K in your pocket potentially to do it.
Yeah. And so I think it's super frustrating for the athletes because they're already, they're getting carding, but then that's going into their team fees. And then they're still paying for extra physio, extra, travel. They get stipends, and then they have to pay. I think I think Canadians are shocked to know that the athletes will be $50,000, $60,000 in debt coming out of these games. And, we always have the conversation, well, it's their choice. But I think we celebrate moments in this country. Like when the women's rugby were at the World Cup, an entire country was watching that.
That was incredible.
Yeah. And all those girls, 13 of those players are Can Fund recipients. And
it is their choice. It is their choice. I get that. If that's somebody's response to this, okay. But they've made a choice to represent all of us, to represent us as patriots in love with our country.
I just want to add, the politicians of the country are the first ones to hop on for video and photo for social media with the athlete from their riding when they win a medal, Jane.
Yeah, I just think, I always say every donation, you can't bottle Canadian pride, but every donation to Can Fund is that. And I feel like all of our donors stay with us. We, when you become a monthly donor, we have a monthly donor quarterly newsletters. These people who donate to Can Fund go behind the scenes. They get to know the athletes different. They get to hear stories. We do a really great job, I think, of having to connect our donors with the athletes because, again, there are 86,000 charities and people work hard for their money. But I also think the moments that they're competing for our country, not even just at the Olympics, but World Cups and World Championships and everywhere, they give a lot back. And I think if you take away like what they do for our country, it matters. And these moments matter and the pride. And I think that's what we're trying to tell people, that this is your donation to celebrate the moments that bring an entire country to its feet, that lift us all up, that inspire us. Like when you see excellence, you believe it's possible in your own life. And, that's what I tell. Like I collect 10 no's a day. I call everybody. I love asking for money because you get to know these athletes and we're rooting for them. You want them to do well.
The whole buzz with Can Fund, in my experience, is that they are family members to each of these important athletes, and the way that they treat them and the regard that the athletes have for Can Fund. I can't say enough. I endorse in any way that I can people donating to Can Fund. Adopt an athlete if you're a corporation. If you want to see women advance, make the $150 donation. I think it was, Jane.
Yes.
And for goodness sake, for $10 a month, be inspired to be part of our athletic program here in Canada and get our athletes up on the podium. It's inspiring, Jane. I really appreciate you explaining to us, and I'm certainly inspired by what you do and your story.
Canadian Athletes Now Can Fund. That's CanadianAthletesNow.ca to get to Can Fund. $10 a month. That's one drink in a bar, right? It's a quick order at Tim's.
But I have something else I want to share because it's
Please.
I just launched it. So I am an artist, and one of the things we do I've done is it's called Art of Accomplishment, and I've given painted canvases to famous Canadians, like Gord Downie wrote lyrics on them, and then we auctioned them off. But now I'm doing another painting. It's the first time I've ever done something like this. So I would ask you guys one word. What does Canada mean to you in one word? You share your word. Your word's going to go on a painting that's 10 feet by 4 feet.
Wow.
It's never been done in a country. So the painting is called Who We Are. And I want to get 1 million people because I want to create something that will live forever, that people showed up in 2026 saying, this is who we are to the world. One word. Each word is $25. And we've partnered, obviously, with Can Fund. So you get to put one word on a painting. Most people have never been on a piece of artwork. $25 per word. So people are doing it for every family member, every employee, and you still get a tax receipt. You still find out which athlete you're funding. And then what we're doing is we're taking all the words. So it would be like Mike, your word, the city you're from, and we're putting this in a huge booklet that will travel with the painting. My goal is that this artwork will hang in the National Gallery of Canada one day, but it will travel the whole country. So I feel like it will stir Canadian pride. It's an access to something that people will never, I think, ever get, to be part of a painting it's a canvas for Canada. And the small amount to contribute is going to our Canadian athletes. And I think this could be my legacy.
Brilliant idea.
This is magic. I like
brilliant, Jane. Thumbs up. That's awesome.
Jane Roos,
so
can't
it's
stop,
our
won't
words.
stop.
Yeah, it's ourwords.ca. And this could be the legacy for Can Fund. I mean, if we got 1 million people, $25 million, that would fund 5 applications. And we could give athletes more money, but it also, the end result is this beautiful canvas that celebrates us.
What a beautiful idea.
Ourwords.ca. Get on that, everyone. That's going to be awesome.
Jane, thanks.
Yeah.
We appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. It's been great. I'm so happy the women won gold today already.
I know
Go Canada, go.
This is amazing. Thanks for helping make this wonderful time possible for all of us Canadians. We're enjoying the athletes that you got behind, and we're very proud. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the shout out.